Do I sound as raspy out loud as I feel in my head?
A little bit.
Okay.
It's not bad, but I can tell there's something there.
Yeah. I'm so much better than I have been the last few days. Like I woke up and I was like, oh, I can breathe through my nose.
Yeah.
So progress has been made.
Yeah, that's
And I
good.
also just don't feel like we can end the year without wrapping up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's how I've been the past few days too. So it's good that we're going to try to do this again.
Yeah, we got this. Yeah, let's hope this time goes better.
It seems like everything is fine and dandy right now, but if stuff starts to happen like last time, I'll try to pause this. That way I can at least get stuff saved.
Definitely. And maybe if we need to like take like cough or nose blowing breaks,
Yeah,
well,
definitely.
we won't lose things because we'll do them in smaller pieces.
Yeah, that too.
Mm.
This is definitely a change. This is a morning edition. I don't think I've ever done this before, like noon.
Yeah, I don't think we have either. I'm just really sad because last time we were so proud of ourselves for drinking.
I know.
And now, like, you've got coffee, I've got a Powerade because I've already had many cups of coffee today.
Yeah.
Like, I'm so sad. We still have to make a we're having a beer episode.
Yeah, no kidding. Just a BS episode.
Yeah. Ooh, maybe we could play a drinking game
Yeah.
while recording, like a recording an episode drinking game. See how silly we get by the end.
Yeah. So you're not gonna be able to see it, but it'll be worth it just to hear it.
Probably. We're entertaining.
Mm-hmm. I think so. All right. So, um,
What do we want to start with?
well,
Books, movies, or TV?
well,
I
just
feel like I'm going to talk the most about TV, so I feel like we should say the one for last.
okay. Well, for me, movies, since I'm still planning on doing a top 19 of 2019, I just did specifically horror movies for my list.
Okay.
Because there was only, I think there might have been one or two more on that list, but I still haven't narrowed it down. So a couple of those might get kicked off. The couple I left out.
Yeah.
So these are probably my
Well,
definitive top five for the year.
and I could only come up with four. Because when we talked last night, I was like really I needed to know that I loved this. I was gonna watch it again. It was gonna make me feel happy things if I watched it again, and I just didn't feel that way about more than four movies.
Mm,
And actually, one of them I'm still kind of like, eh.
maybe see that one for
Um,
last then.
yeah, well, because that's the thing too is that when you have a kid, it's really hard to go to the movies.
Yeah.
So a movie has to really feel worth it for me to actually like find a babysitter or, leave her somewhere, do something. Although I'm pretty sure that's what I'm gonna do tomorrow. It's on Monday because it's my birthday. I'm
Hmm.
just gonna like take a day to myself. She's going to daycare. I'm probably gonna go see Little Women or Frozen too.
There you go.
So, because I heard really good things about the Little Women adaptation. So,
You're not gonna go see Cats.
oh my God, no, that is nightmare fuel that I do not need. And honestly, I've never been a big fan of Cats.
Yeah.
Even previous to this, as a theater person in high school and like liking musicals and stuff, Cats has never done it for me.
I forgot that they even released like a filmed version of the Broadway musical, and even that had terrible reviews. So I don't know anything about Cats,
Yeah.
but from what I understand, it sounds like it's not a very good musical to begin with, even though it's beloved by so many people.
Yeah, no. I feel like that it's almost like a period piece of like the drama of it just does not translate to now.
Yeah.
But okay, so I guess what we're saying is let's start with books.
All right. Yeah. Let's start with books. I'm disappointed in
Mine are
myself.
not in any particular order. You know that about me, so
I don't think any of my stuff's in order because otherwise I'd still probably be going over it.
still
So
making it.
yeah,
Yeah.
so I just went with the order that I read them in this year, and I'm disappointed with myself because I set my goal of books at 50, and I read 31, and a couple of them are probably novellas. So
That counts.
yeah, well the first one is the first Stephen King book I read this year, and that was Desperation,
Mm.
which
Really, because I people don't usually like Desperation in the Regulators.
I didn't get to the regulators yet, but Desperation it like all Stephen King books, it kind of has a lull in the middle, but the first third and the last third were just absolutely bonkers, and it starts off so well too. I feel like you get a King book that either starts off kind of slow and brooding and builds, or you get one that starts at 100 and keeps going for half the book, and that's how this one is. It starts at 100 and dips, like I said, in the middle third, but it picks up immensely in the last third, and it's all a crazy ride.
Okay. Well, my first book that I'll talk about is similar was The Stand.
Mm,
I read that for the first time this year. Um, I think it didn't help that my summer cold happened while I was reading it.
mm,
Although everybody tells me that that's some sort of rule, so I wonder if it's like psychosomatic. When you
yeah,
read the beginning of that book, that you're like, ah, Captain Trips, here comes.
yeah,
Um, but I'd never read it before. It was a lot less daunting than I thought it was going to be once I actually started reading it. Like Liz and I had set up our read along to take 3 months. I could have read that in a month,
yeah,
even and including reading other books. It's just it is massive. According to Goodreads, it's my longest book from the year because it was the unabridged uh, author's cut.
yeah.
Um, but it's so compulsive and so readable, and I'm really excited to see the new miniseries. I still haven't watched the original. I'll get there. But I'm really excited to see what they do with it. And I know a lot of people don't, but I really like the casting, and I'm excited.
Yeah, no, the casting I'm really excited about. The only one that I've been
If you say
critical about.
James Marsden, I'm gonna punch you.
No, no, no. It's I love Whoopi Goldberg, but that I feel like that's
Oh yeah,
too big of a personality for the stand. You're just gonna get kind of taken out of it. But who knows? Good
I can
directing
see
and
you
good
in there.
acting can you know can change that. So we'll see. Um, I remember, I think I read that in either last year or year before, and I think it once you sit down and read it, it really doesn't take that long, even though it's 1,100 pages. I think I read it in 3.5, maybe 4 weeks. I remember I started it in January and finished it before the month ended. So
Well, I feel like even though the pace changes, I can't say the book ever felt slow. And I think it was the first Stephen King book I've read in a while where things that happened surprised me.
yeah, yeah. I was kind of itching for another book like that that had a huge story with lots of characters. So I tried Under the Dome, and I got about 250 pages in and called it quits. I don't know if I just wasn't liking it or if my ADD mood reader mind just wasn't having it at that moment. So
If that's the kind of story that you're in the mood for, then you need to start reading Dune. That is Dune 100%.
uh,
Lots
uh
of characters, crazy nonstop nonsense.
okay. I didn't start it. I didn't do it this year for that read along. So maybe
For
I'll
shame.
yeah, I'll definitely have to read it before the movie comes out because I'm actually excited for the movie.
I don't know. I'm not entirely sold on Timothy Chalamet as Paul.
Mm. I just like the director because he did really good with Blade Runner and Prisoners. If anyone's ever
Yeah,
seen that,
true. True, true.
so we'll see.
All right, what's your next book?
My next one is I actually had to go back and forth. It was going to be one of Lauren Buicks's books. Ultimately, I went with it was either going to be The Shining Girls or Broken Monsters, and I think ultimately I went with The Shining Girls, just because that one was a little more, it was a little more fantastical, and that's kind of what I was wanting at the time. Broken Monsters was a little more. You and I read, Buddy read Broken Monsters, and that was a little more kind of
Procedural.
straightforward, procedural almost. Even though it did have its hints of otherworldly things going on, but I just like the idea of the time hopping serial killer. That was a really cool idea, and
All
it's
right.
just it's got a lot of creepy moments, and I definitely want to read it again because it's pretty fun. As much fun as serial killers time hopping are, and just killing girls.
Yeah, fair enough. My next one, I'm gonna do my other Stephen King that's on my list was Wolves of the Kaya because like okay, I really like The Wastelands. That's probably my second favorite of them all.
Hmm.
Um, but Wolves of the Kaya like where it falls in the narrative of the whole series is so strong. Like all of the characters, who they are and what they need to overcome is so well established. The quartet is fully there, especially now that we have oh my god, I'm drawing a blank.
Hmm.
The priest.
Oh, Father Callahan.
Father Callahan. Like now once we have Father Callahan and we feel like the group is whole and it's probably the last time that they're going to be fully whole and they have a very set um goal to reach and thing to overcome. Like I just love the way they interacted with each other and with the people and like I don't know, that one was just my favorite. Like it just felt like this really good fantasy adventure story. It was when I could love all of the characters the most. Um, like seeing who they are, seeing how they love each other, like without facing the big bad, but
Hmm.
knowing that this was a really important battle was really just I loved it so much.
Yeah, see, I've only read books 5, 6, and 7 once, but I've read 1 through 4 at least 3 or 4 times each. But it when you look at it in the grand scheme of things, it is really just kind of a side mission book, but it's really the only book you get where, like you said, you have everybody together. Um, they're together pretty much the entire book, and they're doing things together. Whereas the previous books, he's still gathering everybody, and then pretty much after this book, everybody goes off and does their own thing. So
It is not a side mission.
yeah, well, no,
If
it's
you
not.
think about what they do in the next two books, well, not Song of Susanna so much, but in the
Yeah,
Dark Tower, this is where they realize what the breakers are.
yeah, that's true.
Like this was the last key piece of information about how to defeat the Crimson King and get to the tower.
True, and I guess Psy King would probably get pissed at me for saying that because I feel like his whole thing is it's kind of everything Roland and the Quartet does, and the entire story is for something. It's not for nothing, you know.
Right.
It's all about progress, hence cause a wheel.
Truth.
Um. All right. Well, thinking about combining these two because they're no, I'll leave them separate. So everybody knows one of my recent favorite horror authors is James Newman, and he told me to try um, some other stuff of his that wasn't particularly straight up horror, even though this has horrifying events. It is called Ugly as Sin, and basically it's just about these. It's about a down and out wrestler, and these crazy fans come and assault him and cut his face off. And
Whoa.
yeah, they cut his face off, and he tries to get back into wrestling, but they won't let him because he's too ugly, and they don't want that there. And so eventually, it turns into a revenge story, and he wants to go back and get revenge on them. And it's been a while since I've read it, but I know his daughter comes into the mix for some reason, and he was saying after he finished that story, he got a lot of shit for people being like, "Have you not heard of the movie The Wrestler? That's almost what this is." And he was like, "Yes, I know what The Wrestler is, and no, it's not the same thing."
No, I would agree with that.
Yeah, no, it's really good. It's a novella. It's maybe like 120 pages, maybe. So, but he's really good at explaining so much in so little. Like I felt like I read a full length novel in a good way. Like it didn't feel long winded at all. It just kept going at a really good pace, and it's pretty intense. It's really good though.
All right. I'm here for that.
Yeah.
My next one is called There by Tommy Orange. So, I don't think I expected to love this book as much as I did, especially because, okay, so what happened is my university that I work at, in order to like increase our diversity and inclusion and stuff, has a reading challenge. So like almost every month of the year is celebrating a different culture, and so the challenge is like to read a book that celebrates or is from that culture every month. Um, so November was like First Nations Native American History Month.
Mm.
And so I originally wanted to read a book by Joy Harjo, but they were all out of the library, and I saw this book, and it's about a big powwow in Oakland, and you are following all of these different characters, and all these different things happen, and the end is like a giant cliffhanger, and I was like, oh my god! But I was compulsively reading this book,
Mm.
like how all these like there's these characters are all connected in ways that you don't realize, and like information overlaps, and it takes place at kind of different times. But I just remember I finished the book and I was like, holy crap! Like it was really really intense. And it was just a really solid reading experience, and I enjoyed it a lot, and it gave me really good perspective on the fact that like native life is not just on reservations. Like this is people who claim native heritage and practice native heritage, but live
Hmm.
in really urban environments. And I think that was it was just really fascinating to read and think about. I read like three books written by native authors in November because stuff just kept coming up that I was like, I want to read that, I want to read that, I want to read that. I was stuck between this and Leadfeather by Stephen Graham Jones, which was also really excellent, but that book was also kind of frustrating, so that's why I did not make it
Mm.
onto the list.
I still haven't read anything by him yet.
Yeah, I'm reading. Well, I'm getting his new book when it comes out next year, The Only Good Indian, and then I have Mongrels is on my list for next year in November, October or
Okay.
November, I think.
So was that book? Is it was it setting itself up for a sequel, or was it just kind of? It doesn't really
No,
matter
because it
how it
still
ends.
tells an entire story.
Okay.
I don't know that it really matters how it ends, but I have heard because it's considered literary fiction.
Mm.
And so I have heard that there might be a sequel or, set in the same world of people book coming out in the future. Probably
Okay.
wouldn't be for years though.
Because it's kind of strange to end it on a cliffhanger if it doesn't going to continue. But again, sometimes it's
I
it's
don't
not
even know if cliffhanger is the right word, but like,
just
like
unresolved.
like the big scary thing happens at the end, and you used to have see a little bit of afterward, but like you don't know if everyone's okay. You don't know, like there's information that you know about the characters, but you'll never know if they shared it with each other.
Mm.
And it's really important that they do. Like it will be life changing if they share this information with each other. And you don't know if they do. You don't know if the conversations ever happen. And it just like I think about it all the time. Like I think that was very effective because I'm like, oh my God, how did this person react when they told them this thing? And like, oh, it just I like genuinely like frustrates me.
Hmm. I'm definitely gonna.
But in a good way. Like that's what's
Yeah.
so annoying.
I'm gonna throw that on my list then because it sounds really good.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was really well done.
Hmm. Who was the author again?
Tommy Orange,
Tommy
like the
Orange.
color.
All right. Um. This one. This one is probably my number one of the year. But like I said, I just ordered them in the order I read them this year. But this is The Thicket by Joe R. Lansdale.
Oh, I want to read that one so bad.
Um, it it blew me away from beginning to end. To not go into too much detail about it, just what it's about is I'm pretty sure it's set in like the 1800s. The book description doesn't tell me, but um, this boy and his sister, their parents have died from the smallpox epidemic, and they live with their grandpa. And one day, these it says bank robbing bandits murdered the boy and girl's grandfather, and they kidnap his sister. So it says, with no elders left for miles, Jack must grow up fast and enlist a band of heroes, the likes of which have never been seen, if his sister stands any chance of survival. But the best he can come up with is a charismatic bounty hunting dwarf named Shorty, a grave digging son of an ex slave named Eustace, and a street smart woman for hire named Jimmy Sue, who's come into some very intimate knowledge about the bandits and a few members of Jack's extended family to boot. So
Interesting.
it's almost kind of like Wolves of the Kala or Magnificent Seven. You know, he's got to get these band of people together to help fight these other band of bad people and uh, save his sister. And I'm so glad that they're filming the movie because Peter Dinklage is supposed to be playing Shorty, and that's going to be amazing.
Yes, I can see that.
Yeah. So it was very tense, very well written. Just um, that definitely kicked off my love for Joe Lansdale. I'm actually reading one of his books right now, which is a very short one. It's the Hap and Leonard series, which I just remembered was a TV show. So I want to finish the first
Really?
book. Yeah, I want to finish the first book and watch the first season because they have the whole series up on Netflix.
Nice.
Yeah. So um, James Newman has actually cited Joe Lansdale as his favorite author ever, which I can see why. He definitely knows how to craft a good story, and his writing is amazing. So I think I'm gonna get on a Joe Lansdale train here pretty soon.
Sounds like a good choice.
Yes.
Okay, so my next one is going to be kind of controversial. It is even controversial to myself.
Ooh, we
Um,
like controversy.
okay, so it's Ninth House by Lee Bardugo.
Okay.
And a lot of people were kind of disappointed in this book. And I understand why. Because, like, Stephen King said it was super good. Like, she got really good, like, pre release hype.
Hmm.
And she's always going to be hyped. I mean, that's just the author and the universe that she's built. But here's the thing it's not anything unique or special in the realms of like sort of the urban fantasy that it is, but her approach was really good. So Ninth House is like there are eight secret societies at Yale, but there's actually a ninth one that regulates the magic of all the secret societies and makes sure that they don't, break certain rules.
Hmm.
And the ninth house is the ones that actually like have the most access to magic to a certain extent. And it's about this character who can see ghosts without having to take these drugs, and kind of like her name is Alex. It's Alex's adventure. Alex comes from a really messed up background. The system at Yale is completely abusing her for her talent, but it's also tackling like fraternity culture and racism and classism and drug use and addiction and all of these other things. And it does it in a way that's somehow like sassy and not patronizing,
Hmm.
but also doesn't say dismantle the culture at the same time, which is a really weird, hard thing to balance. Because obviously she was a member of a secret society too. So when she was at Yale, so she believes that they have a purpose, but also that there's toxic crap that needs to be confronted, and that there's always going to be people who abuse the system. And so even though there's all this really fun magic, that was probably the least interesting part of it to all of this for me.
Hmm.
It was more that like let's be an insider in this world critiquing the world to the outside. Like that's really fascinating to me.
Yeah.
Also because I am a sucker for a good ship, like the Alex and Darlington arc, like I'm here for it for as many books as she's gonna write for me. Like I'm in, you've got me. So that's the other thing too, is like I think we'll look back on Ninth House and see that it was setting something up, and by the time we get to the end of the series, we'll be like, holy crap, so much of what we needed to know was there. We just didn't know it.
So it is planned to be a series.
Yes, definitely.
Okay. I've seen so many people talk about it and recommend it, but I never actually read what it was about. So hearing that actually has me pretty interested in it now. So
Okay, I was afraid that was gonna happen.
it's
So
all
I'm gonna
good.
do the rest of this with a cough drop in my mouth.
There you go.
I got too excited and my throat started to tickle.
It's all right.
All right, what's your next one? We're almost to the end of the books.
Yes. Okay, so my last one is it's another novella. 'Cause apparently, novellas were the thing this year with me anyway, because there was a lot of
I
good
feel like they're
ones.
making a comeback. That's totally fair.
Yeah. Um, so this is called In the Scrape, and it's the second one on here by James Newman. He also co-authored it with a fellow named Mark Steenland. Um, so see, I'm terrible at read. I always have to read the book descriptions because me saying what it's about, I might inadvertently give away too much or not say enough about it. But so
Yeah,
this,
I think it's funny we're trying to be non-spoilery with our book reviews because we probably will be with TV and movies.
yeah, probably. Um, well, I guess more or less, it's just about these two brothers. They have just an asshole of a father, and because it's a novella, so that's it all happens pretty fast. So just basically, they plan on running away from him and going to be with their mom in California, and let's just say things don't go as planned. We'll leave it at that.
What do you like about it?
Well, that's the thing is it's one of those stories that it has horrifying things and just lots of bad things happen, but it's there's there's really no fantastical element. It's all real people, real situations. These types of bad shit things happen in real life, and that's what makes it scary. Is sometimes you don't need uh, fantastical monsters or ghouls. All you need is just bad people, and that's definitely more scary than any monster that like Stephen King or something can come up with. Even though he's come up with some pretty scary monsters that are just plain old humans. So,
Mm-hmm.
and that always fascinates me that you can make just people's actions and words scarier than a monster, and that's pretty much how this whole novella is just showing how bad like the dad is as a person, and just yeah. Plus, the writing is amazing. I've never read anything else by Mark Steensland. but I definitely need to seek some more out and give it a go because the two of them together, man, it flowed so well. I couldn't tell. It felt like there was no discernible difference between their styles, and they meshed really well. So the writing itself was amazing.
Yeah, it's always impressive when that happens. Just like I don't think I can really tell the difference between King and Straub and like the Talisman.
I definitely couldn't tell the difference in the Talisman. I feel like I could the half third of Black House that I've read. I feel like I could tell the difference. Maybe just because I
Just
wasn't into it as much.
I guess it, well, like what would he sound like versus what does King sound like?
E- well, like the beginning of Black House to me, it may have been King, but it was almost like a script because it would say like, oh, we focus on this house where this person lives and they're doing this thing, and then this happens, and it'll totally say now we fly a block over to this person's house, and I'm like, what is going on here? Like, this is really weird. Like, it was kind of cool at first, but because it's King and Straub, that went on for the first like 25 pages, and I was like, oh my god, let's get moving.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah,
I can see that getting very annoying.
yeah, but in their defense, from what I hear, it does take a little while to get into it, and I feel like I always stop right where things kick in, and I feel like I stopped right where stuff was about to happen. So I just need to get back to it at some point.
Understandable.
Yeah. All
Okay, so
right.
my last favorite was a YA novel called the Astonishing Color of After by Emily X.R. Pan.
That's a great title.
It is okay. So basically, and I'm not spoiling anything because it's all pretty straightforward. So the book starts with the main character's mom completing a suicide, and it's devastating. And then she finds out that like she has her mom is from Taiwan, I want to say.
Mhm.
When she finds out that like she has a whole family there that she's never met, and this whole family history that she doesn't know, because her father was an American, and so she decides to go there and meet them and meet her family and kind of explore why her mom ended up the way that she did, and the things that her mom went through in her family life and everything. And there's a little bit of magic in it as well. Like there's all the stuff about birds and incense, and like it tackles something really emotional in a really good way. And like I was just blown away. And the writing is just insanely gorgeous. It was such a good book.
And who was the author again?
Emily X.R. Pan.
Okay. I've been. I'm not someone that's against YA. I guess it's not really my thing, but also maybe I just like more adult themes. But you know what? There's been so many YA books that people have told me about, and I'm like, had you not told me it was YA, I would have just assumed it was, an adult novel. So, um,
Yeah, I mean, people think there is a lot of YA that's like teenagers falling in love and finding themselves and all that, but there's also a lot of really good like sci-fi and fantasy that's out there. Or I think that YA handles some heavy shit a
hmm
lot better than adult lit. Like somebody joked that adult lit is just a man cheating on his wife and trying to figure out what that means. And that's kind of accurate.
yeah,
Like you're like straightforward contemporary time, not magic, not whatever. That's what it is.
hmm
It's people having affairs and ruining their marriages and trying to figure it out, or being abusers. Like there's very little I feel like that people consider literary. I say that with air quotes.
yeah,
And I feel like it doesn't always deal with the big stuff very well. I mean, like think about like The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas.
hmm
That could never have been an adult literary book. There would have had to be too much politics and too much bullshit instead of just the cause, the effect, the emotion.
yeah.
Like that book would not have worked if it was not a YA book and not about young people experiencing this. So yeah, I recommend YA. I think that we need to evolve our opinion of the genre,
hmm
especially because like I mean, one of my favorites that's ever been written was the Illuminae files. Like one, they're visually compelling, but the stories are also really interesting. There's nothing more fun than teenagers taking on the big bad corporation.
yeah. I actually bought a book from thrift books earlier this year. I was looking for, I think I was looking for just like coming of age stories. I wanted to find just a good coming of age story, and this one book I still haven't read it, but I read the description and was like, oh, this sounds really good, and I bought it and flipped around and looked at the back, and I just immediately saw nothing but like YA praise, and I was like, oh, apparently this book is a YA book. I was like, but the story sounds really good, so I might have to
What
get
was
to
the
it.
book?
Oh god, I think it's called Mosquito Land.
Oh, I have that.
Yeah,
I want to read that too.
I mostly just love not mostly, but the cover is what made me want to look and see what it was about because it's got a really great cover.
It does have a really great cover. Well,
So
since I have that too, maybe next year we can get around to Buddy reading it.
yeah, definitely because I need to try to broaden my horizons on YA a little bit.
I can help you with that.
Yeah, I figured.
Until Bookstagram, honestly, I think I was primarily reading YA. Bookstagram helped me get back into like horror and other things. I mean, I always try to keep it with like, what won the Pulitzer and why and like that kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
I think it's funny if you look back at like the beginning of my BG, there was like some horror, but it was mostly YA, and that's who I was mostly interacting with and friends with.
Hmm.
And then it was like, oh, but horror is so much fun, and I want to read more Stephen King, and
Yeah.
things just happened from there.
Yeah. Exactly. Um. All right. So are we going on to movies?
Yeah, let's do movies.
All right. Well, I won't
I
go.
feel like one of mine is going to be the same as one of yours.
Um.
Do Endgame? Oh no, you're only talking about horror movies, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm only gonna do horror movies.
Okay.
Although, okay, hold on. We'll see when we get to the end of it.
All right, so your first horror movie.
All right. So again, this is just in the order I saw them in. Although I probably have, I do have a number one, so I'll save that one for last. But the first horror movie I saw of the year, which I think came out in like February, which is crazy, was Jordan Peele's Us.
I haven't had the balls to watch it yet.
Um, I mean, if you compare it to Get Out, it's definitely the lesser movie. But again, it's one of those things where the stories are absolutely nothing alike, so you can't really compare it.
Hmm.
It's beautifully made. He was obviously given a bigger budget, but that doesn't mean more special effects or whatnot. Because from memory, it's been a while since I've watched it, but from memory, almost everything was done um, practically, and I feel like he
Hmm.
sparingly used CG just where necessary, but it was very beautifully made, beautifully shot. All the actors did an amazing job, especially Lupita Nyong'o, but she's good in everything. Winston Duke, who a lot of people are like, I don't know who that
Mbaku.
is. Yeah, I'm like, you've
Sick.
seen Marvel movies, you know who M'Baku is. He was
Hmm.
hilarious in that movie. He did such a good job. It was good to see him something outside of
Hmm.
a Marvel
Although
movie.
Mbaku is my favorite like thirst tweets.
Oh
Like when
god,
people post about him like being hot.
yeah,
Those are hilarious, especially when they made him read them on BuzzFeed.
uh huh,
Oh, it was like awkward and wonderful to watch.
yeah. He did a thing on the GQ YouTube where it's like my 10 essential things like they carry with them every day, and
Hmm.
just uh he just seems like a really cool guy because he was saying after he did Black Panther, he kept getting all these offers for roles kind of like that, just these big, strong, heroic types, and he was like, no, he's like, I'm a normal guy, like, can I just play a normal dude? And then Us came around, and he was like, yes, this is exactly what I wanted.
Hmm.
Him trying to scare
For
off
sure.
the others is like the highlight of the movie. It's so funny. They show it a lot in the trailers, so that's not
Yeah.
a huge spoiler. But yeah, Us.
Okay. Well, for me, because it'll be brief, I do have to say that Endgame was one of my highlights of the year.
Yes.
I'm not sure that I like plot wise, I thought everything was perfect or anything like that, but just like it was such an experience. And like I can't say that I didn't love it because that's been our lives for like over a decade now.
Yeah,
I think it was just so impressive that you have to love it.
definitely.
Um, it was funny and sad and it had all its good moments and I mean, there is nothing better than having people straight up say that is America's ass because it is.
Yeah.
And it's funny because my husband saw it before I did, and he was like, I can't remember. I said something to him where like we made a bet. I was like, this isn't going to be a heist movie, and he goes, oh yeah, want to bet? Because he's like, it's going to be like a heist because I'm like, oh what? They're going to try and steal the stones from Thanos and blah blah. Like he was just kind of messing with me, and I was like, this isn't a heist movie. And then we get halfway through, and he goes, yeah, because they're like time heist, and I was
Time
like, oh
heist.
my god, like. He really had me there. He likes to hold that against me. So there was, do you remember the Transformers movie that's also like medieval knights? And there's like
Uh,
a dragon and stuff. That
it,
this exists. You remember this exists? Yes.
yeah.
Okay, so one time we were at the movies and like a preview for that started, and Joey's like, "Oh, it's the new Transformers movie." I was like, "No, it isn't," because he had seen it before and knew that it was like this medieval knights thing
Yeah.
to start before you saw the Transformers. And so he really likes to use that as a reason when he tells me something is this. I was like, "No, it isn't." That's his rationale for it. But I really like he really got me on that one.
Yeah.
It was a heist movie.
I was wondering because I like to read all the trivia on IMDb, and before it came out, I read that the Russo brothers quoted saying their inspirations for this movie were there was a couple movies they named, but one of them was Ocean's 11, and I was like, Ocean's 11, that's kind of weird. And then midway through the movie, I was like,
It's like,
oh, I see
oh,
that now.
yeah,
Which I love Ocean's 11 and 13, 12. That's oh god, don't even get me started. But I definitely can see that influence, and I don't know, heist movies are so
yeah,
much fun. I think
they are.
that
They
definitely
are.
added to the fun element of this movie because we all knew it was going to be a pretty big downer from about the midway point on. So
Yeah.
yes,
All right, what's your next one?
finales are hard, and they did a damn good job. That's for sure. Next up is scary stories to tell in the dark. I
I have
mean,
not seen that yet.
the nostalgia factor alone was
Yeah.
good, but also I like that. Well, it was co-written by Guillermo del Toro, so that already was a huge plus. But I like that he took the essentials for all the stories he used in the movie, but kind of made him his own, which is good. Because you weren't expecting certain things to go this way or that way, and he tweaked them to his own unique style. And it, even though it was a PG-13 movie, there were a couple scares that, like, to me, again, I always reiterate, jump scares to me aren't, they're effective for making you jump. They're not scary. Um, Giving you chills to me is what's scary, and I think there was a couple scenes that actually gave me the chills. Like I gripped the seat and got straight up goosebumps because it was actually pretty creepy. Um, and it was a really effective horror movie, especially for being only PG-13. But then again, I love the first two Insidious movies. Those are PG-13 and they are pretty damn scary. So
Yeah, I don't think an R rating is necessary for a good scary movie.
somebody was talking about, it was an article I read. They were talking about The Conjuring, and they were like, have you ever thought about why The Conjuring is rated R? And they're like, think about it. There's next to no blood. There's not a single F word in it. There's no sex scenes. They're like, it's rated R because it's just too damn scary. And I was like, holy shit, I never thought about that.
And that's kind of rare for them to do that
Yeah.
when I think about it.
I think it literally just says like rated R for terrifying scenes or something like that. Which
Yes,
is,
I love that they now have to include a justification.
yeah, exactly. So,
Ugh.
and
All right.
I'm excited too because I think, real quick side note, the director of that is doing, I want to say, I think he's tapped to do the Talisman movie. I could be wrong.
No, I
Um,
think you're right. I think you're right.
but
Because I feel like I remember hearing the Losers Club not be happy about that.
oh, really, man? Well, because I watched his first American movie, which was The Autopsy of Jane Doe, and that was really good.
That movie is so creepy.
It
I do not
was.
like that movie.
I thought it was so good. I really liked it. I watched it alone in the dark in my bedroom, and there was one part in the beginning, they kind of did a little foreshadowing, and I seriously looked around my bedroom at the empty bedroom, and was just like, oh, I wonder if that's gonna come back later. So yeah.
It's okay. Right now, the stack of laundry is so high and leaning in such a way that when the lights are off, it looks like
Oh
a
no.
tiny person is sitting in our laundry basket.
uh,
Well, on to something that is not scary.
all right.
And I said I only have four movies, so you'll have
Okay.
to do a little extra talking here.
Okay.
I actually really liked Booksmart.
Oh God, yes.
I thought it was so much funnier and weirder than I was expecting. Like people kind of sell it as super bad, but with women, and that's
Yeah.
pretty accurate.
Yeah.
In terms of like their awkwardness and how screwed up the night gets. I think probably the moment that I like died laughing the hardest was when they were watching porn
Oh God.
and plugging the aux cable. Oh my God. Oh my
Yeah.
God. I was just dying.
That long awkward silence, and Jason Sudeikis just says, "Was that Cardi B?"
And I also think that the fight between the two girls about not going to college and or like what's going to happen next
Mm,
for them was way more effective than uh Seth and Evan.
yeah, definitely.
Like I think that was a more real fight
Hmm.
because I also think girls tend to be a little more codependent on each other than guys do.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so
I just remember hearing like how smart and funny it was, and strangely I hadn't seen any of the trailers or anything, and just one day I was browsing through Redbox and I saw Booksmart in there. I was like, okay, like it was like I'm in the mood for a funny movie, and I keep hearing this is really funny, and I'm glad I went in with almost next to no knowledge of it. I mean, I knew what it was about, but I hadn't, like I said, I hadn't seen any trailers. And um, the opening scene when they're dancing outside the house, I was like, I know exactly what we're in for, and I'm all in.
yeah, that's pretty accurate. It's a good read.
Yeah.
My next two are both horror movies, so if you want to do two in a row, I think you should, because
I'm
then we'll
gonna
just be horror movieing it up.
I'm gonna assume one of your horror movies is one of mine.
And that would be
Uh, all right, yeah, we'll move on to that one. Which of course had to be It Chapter Two.
yes,
All right.
yes, it is
So I guess we won't go too in depth because we have a 2 hour long episode dedicated to that.
the longest episode ever.
Yeah, but it was hard in the book to wrap up the adult section. It was hard in the miniseries to wrap up the adult section, and it was going to be even harder to wrap it up in this adaptation because the first one is so beloved and was so good that it's definitely going to be a challenge. Did they stick the landing?
No,
I don't think they did.
but did I still feel
Oh God, yeah.
okay? I guess here's the thing. I'm not always a fan of fan service, and if we want to do an episode on the Rise of Skywalker,
Oh
we
my
could probably
God.
address that. Um, it was I almost put it on the list, but then I'd have to spoil way too much. So I figured since we've both seen it, we might as well just do an episode on it.
Yeah, we can do
Um,
that.
but I also felt like they were really speaking to the reader. Like I know that they changed a lot of things and some stuff was like really stupid because it had to be visual, but like I feel like this emotion of realizing like how seriously attached to these characters we are, I
Hmm.
feel like that was shown. Like I feel like sometimes directors are like, this is my vision, and like they don't always respect the feelings of the people who love the book.
Yeah.
Like that's why I feel like the Harry Potter adaptations are so good because I think that the huge emotional attachment was really respected in the way they made the movies. No matter what they changed, I feel like there was like a core there that was still there, and I feel like that about it chapter 2. Like I feel like emotionally what I needed was there. Even if we, basically talked crap about it for 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I still feel satisfied in some weird way. Like emotionally I'm satisfied. Logically I am not.
Because yeah, see, there was so much to love, but then when you look at it as a whole, you're kind of like, it didn't really work altogether, did it? But again, it even Uncle Stevie would tell you it's not about the ending, it's about the journey. And damn if this wasn't a good, well,
It was a very good journey.
yeah, it was only a
Yes.
2 year journey for us, but
Yeah.
yeah. All right, so am I doing my next one or are you?
Yeah. Do your next one.
Okay, so my next one, I'm just gonna go right into it, is Crawl. Um,
Joey watched that without me. I really did want to see it.
it.
So we have it. I just haven't had a chance to watch it yet.
Oh, okay, yeah. It's put logic aside, know what you're going into, and just have
Those are the best
fun.
kinds. That's what
Yeah,
creature features are for.
exactly. That's. I feel like I'm like actually really happy that it did surprisingly well at the box office because that shows that people still want to see creature features, and this
hmm
to me is one of the better ones.
I mean, they kind of ruined themselves for a little while when they remade the Piranha movies
Yeah,
and
because
just went really weird and booby with them.
yeah,
But I think a classic creature feature, I think there's definitely still a market for that.
and same director too, so that's kind of funny.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah. But this was a lean, like 90 minutes. It's one of those ones that takes maybe 10 minutes to get into, and once it does, there's no let up. It's the next 80 minutes are just high octane, and it was just so much fun. Like I said, there was a couple things that were kind of laughable. Like, okay, I know what kind of movie this is, but really, like that's a bit beyond belief. But nonetheless, it was so much fun. Yeah, you definitely need to watch it. It was really fun.
All right, I'll definitely give that a try. Right now, I've finished a lot of TV series in the last few days, so I'm pretty proud of myself. So I think for me now, I got to settle down and catch up on some movies.
Yeah.
Okay, how many do you have left? Two?
Nope, I have one more. That's it.
Okay, so I'm gonna do my next one.
Okay.
Um, so this was my fourth movie, and I have been saving my favorite of my lists for the last. So my favorite movie of this year, genuinely, was Happy Death Day to You.
Mm,
The sequel to Happy Death Day. Have you seen it?
yes, didn't like it as much as the first one.
How dare you?
I
Because
know.
okay, so Happy Death Day was a very fun supernatural slasher movie. Most slasher movies will just do that with a different killer the second time around.
Yeah.
Instead, they go into like the science of time travel and figuring out how the time travel part happened,
Mm-hmm.
or the Groundhog Day part happened, not the killer. They did not give a crap about the killer.
Yeah.
And I love that. That was so smart. Like she's in these like sideways realities and all of time has changed and like I loved that. I love that. Like this could have just been all right, let's slightly tweak the formula of the first movie. What does a sequel to slasher movie look like? And they just threw that out the window.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think that's what I like so much. I was like, it just subverted my expectations, and I had so much fun watching it. Also, I think Tree dying over and over again to Paramore's Hard Times is probably one of my favorite things I've ever seen.
Yeah, that was a really good sequence. Not that I didn't like it. I did. I just by the end of it, I was like, okay, that was good, but I don't think I had as much fun with it as I did the first one.
Yes, the first movie is definitely more fun,
Mm-hmm.
but the second one made me think.
Yeah, I like that they went more
Like it really
sci-fi.
sucked me in, and that's yeah, they definitely went more sci-fi, but it's still scary.
Mm-hmm.
But it's so funny because there are some times where we're just sitting down and I just start thinking about it and I like say something to Joey and he was like, "What are you talking about? Like what conversation were we in the middle of that we're suddenly having again?"
Yeah.
So yeah. Yep, that was my favorite
I'm
this year.
I'm kind of bummed that that one underperformed compared to the first one because the director
Hmm.
said he has a really fun idea for the third movie, but he said at this point it's kind of looking unlikely that it'll get made because the second one
That's
underperformed.
depressing.
He said
I would support a Kickstarter to make that movie happen.
yeah, he said don't write it off completely, but he said as of right now it's looking a little unlikely. But who knows? Who knows? Maybe if anything, they'll just go back to do the whole okay, like you can do whatever you want, but we're not going to give you very much money to do it.
Mhm.
So hopefully
Yeah,
he can because I don't know if he's done that guy that wrote and directed it has done anything else, but I feel like he obviously has a clear vision for for stories he wants to put out because he did do a good job of both of those. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
for sure.
All right, so my favorite horror movie of the year and just one of my favorites of the year, probably in my top three, if not top two, is Doctor Sleep.
Nice. Don't ruin anything for me.
No, I won't. Have you read the book?
Yeah.
Okay, that's right.
Dude, weren't you in the read along or did you not do the Doctor Sleep one with us?
No, because I finished it and then I think it started the next month. I was like, oh god, I can't do it 2 months back to back.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, I mean, if there was any person capable of doing this movie, it was definitely Mike Flanagan.
Yeah, I trust him a lot to do
And
adaptations.
it was kind of weird. There was a review I read that was giving the movie so much praise, and then all of a sudden they were like, the blurb from the article was like, directed by Mike Flanagan, it can't hold a candle to Stanley Kubrick's original. And I'm like, where did that come from? Like, you were giving the movie so much praise, and then it's like, by the way, this director's totally incompetent compared to Stanley Kubrick, which two different styles. I mean, come on.
Yeah. I
But
mean, I just feel like after Haunting of Hill House, he has such a command of mood
yes,
and he has
definitely.
such a creativity around how to make that happen.
Yeah. I'm very excited that he announced the director's cut coming in January with an extra 30 minutes added in. So now the runtime of the movie is going to be exactly 3 hours. And
Yeah, I feel like
all,
we deserve that.
yeah, and already the 2.5 hour runtime just kind of flew by. I feel like it didn't. There was no sags anywhere. It You were invested the entire time. So, and
Yeah.
again, I'm one of the few, not movies, but the books. I'm one of the few that likes Doctor Sleep better than The Shining. So,
I don't know if I like. I mean, both of them are in my top 10 Kings.
hmm
But I think I still like The Shining more. But I think a lot of that has to do with the context under which I've read it.
yeah, definitely, definitely,
So I think that's part of it for me.
yeah.
Like I've read it twice, and both times were like experiences. I mean, clearly we became friends during the second time, but
Yeah, exactly. I do want to read it again. It's been what, almost 2 years at this point now, so I'm definitely curious to read it again. Yeah, maybe I'll get to it sometime next year. All right, and it does bum me out that it did terribly at the box office, which sucks. I get that it's kind of hard to introduce a sequel to a movie that came out 40 years ago, um, and market it that way without being overindulgent on Stanley Kubrick's movie, you know. So, uh, oh well, maybe I can't. I want to say I know he's doing something else King related coming up. I can't remember what that is though. I know sadly he's not directing the entirety of Hill House season 2. I don't even think he's directing any of them, but I know he wrote it. So we'll see how that goes.
yeah. Oh, that reminds me. Before that comes out, I gotta read Turn of the Screw again.
What is that?
Because the haunting, it's called The Haunting of Bly House, is
Oh,
actually season two.
okay.
And it's based on Tom Hardy's Turn of the Screw.
Oh, okay. Well, I need to read both of those. I need to read Haunting of Hill House.
Hmm. Oh my God, what's wrong with you?
I
Did you
know.
not listen to Paul and I when we told you to read your Shirley Jackson?
Yes. Uh,
You monster.
I know.
All right,
Oh,
TV.
all right. So, do you want to
Let's
kick it
talk about the
off?
one we both know is going to be on there.
Oh,
Let's start with The Mandalorian.
all right. Yeah, The Mandalorian. Still haven't watched the season finale, but
It was
um,
not what I was expecting, so I will enjoy your reaction.
okay. So, I mean, even though I haven't finished watched the season finale, I can still throw this on the top five. There's a couple other shows that I haven't finished that I felt like could have been on here, but I'm only like maybe midway through the season, and a lot can happen in half a season, so I didn't throw them on here. Like Watchmen has been consistently great, but I'm only on like episode 5 of 9 or something like that, so didn't want to throw that on there.
Now I gotta watch that one.
Atypical is a very good show, but I haven't finished the third season. I'm about a third of the way through. Um,
Yeah, I had like 8 TV shows.
yeah.
And so I had to take a couple. So I also have some honorable mentions. And a couple that I just finished. Like I finished The Witcher yesterday.
Oh, see, I still haven't seen that.
Really inconsistently paced season. But what I learned when I did some Googling is that the first season is the prequel short stories. So it builds up to the actual action of the Witcher books and games.
Oh wow.
So basically, you get a lot of these characters' motivation. So you get the whole journey of them across like about 100 years until they actually all converge on each other.
hmm
Because at first I was like, what the hell's going on? I was like, and they drop these hints that some of their stories are taking place in different times. And I was like, what is going on here? But then you hit, I think it's episode 4. And I was like, all right, I'm in. You've got me. Um,
Yeah.
I can't say it's one of my favorite things I watched this year, but I'm really excited for season 2.
Yeah,
So
it's definitely gonna get one too because
why did
apparently
you love The
it's
Mandalorian? Tell me about
um I mean, other than the fact that it's Star Wars, I like that it was a very I guess I'll say subtle show. It's not over the top like
it. He's so dry. Like I don't think you could be Mando and be over the top.
yeah,
Like it's not a George Lucas Star Wars
exactly.
fantasy. That is very clear.
It's a Star Wars western, and westerns aren't, very big and showy. They're very subtle and gradually build, and that's exactly
Yeah.
what this show does. It doesn't necessarily build dread, but you just know you are working your way towards something. And I was telling Victoria that I was watching the second to last episode, and I told her, the last 30 seconds shit is just going haywire, and I'm sitting there watching it, and I said on a couple occasions I was just like verbally going, oh no, oh shit, oh God, and then it ended, and I was just like, what the hell?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, without going too spoilerific on that, and we also have the child for 8 episodes,
Right.
so
Yeah.
it's not Baby Yoda, people.
It is Baby Yoda. I am Team Baby Yoda.
Um,
We'll talk about that more after you realize how the show ends for
okay.
this season.
Shit. All right.
It was not a bad thing, but it was amusing.
Okay.
So, but that's the thing is like I liked that the show was subtle. I am really actually really glad the episodes were only a half hour.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it just allowed for some tighter storytelling. Like connections had to be established differently. The visual story had to be different. Like it's clearly a show that can be, prestige television and could be an hour and could compete with like a Game of Thrones. But I like the half hour. I feel like that really added something
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
because you'd get to the end of the episode and be like, wait, what?
Yeah.
I loved that feeling. I haven't been that excited about anything in a while.
Yeah, I listened to one podcast where they were saying, do you think if Disney Plus had dumped the entire season at once, we would still be kind of talking about it 2 months after it
Absolutely
came
not.
out? Yeah, and I'm like, I don't
No.
think so. The week to week thing is what's keeping the
I think
steam
they would have
going.
all been because then they would have just made it a movie. It's
Yeah, at that
technically the
point.
length of a long movie.
Yeah. Um,
But no, I think that they did it really well. I also someone made a really good argument about why Baby Yoda is not just a money grab
mhm.
and that it is an important part of the story. Because if it was just a money grab, we would have already known that Baby Yoda toys are being made and released, and there would have been a spoiler.
Oh yeah,
Whereas
definitely.
for the sake of the story and the surprise, Disney held off, and that's why we're not getting anything until like March.
Apparently we have Donald Glover to thank and blame for that because he talked to Jon Favreau about it and said, don't start any marketing with with the child yet, because he's like that's going to be a big part of the show, and even though you reveal him in episode 1, he's like you're going to want that big reveal. And I know a lot of people gave Donald Glover shit for that, but it's like,
No, that was genius.
yeah, and it's like, do you really need memorabilia that much that you're willing to sacrifice a good reveal, and that comes in the first episode? Like, come on.
No, it was all about the story, and I think that was really smart.
Yeah. So.
But it's just compelling television. It's a story that hasn't been told in a world that we think we understand.
Hmm.
I love that. Although I don't like calling him Mando. There's something about that I feel is really like insulting.
Yeah. Right. That feels a little derogatory.
It does.
Yeah.
And like I said it out loud, and I was like, no, I
Yeah.
don't like that. And I had been thinking it before when I was like, oh, what are we going to talk? I was like, okay, talking about the Mandalorian today. But like, I don't like that. I don't like calling him Mando.
Yeah. When I
Like,
talk
did
to,
anybody even bother to ask him his name?
yeah, I
I
don't.
genuinely wonder that.
Yeah. It's probably something we're not going to get until like the end of the series, if anything. But when I talk to people about it at work, they all say Mando, and I say the Mandalorian. So,
Yeah. It's not even the, it's a Mandalorian.
oh yeah, that's true. And I'm sure it's not it's probably just a coincidence, but episode 5 is titled The Gunslinger, and I love that.
Yeah, yeah, I saw that too. I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so moving on with one of mine or with one of yours?
We can do one of yours.
Okay, so hands down, I think the funniest show and just consistently good show in general this year was definitely the first season of What We Do in the Shadows.
Okay.
It's strange because Victoria and I had watched like the first 2 or 3 episodes, and I asked her, I was like, have you still not watched the movie? And she said no. And so I was like, okay, so we put it on, and it's a really short movie. It's only like 82 minutes, but afterwards I was like, I really love that movie, but strangely enough, after watching just those couple episodes of the show, I think the show is actually funnier, which is really hard to do considering how hilarious the movie is. But it's because, they're able to expand on ideas and bring in new characters, which, just definitely makes it fresh. You're not following the same characters from the movie. And they recycle a lot of jokes, but the punchline is different, which is kind of cool that they did that. So yeah, I'm really excited for season two. We watched it as it aired, and then however long, 2 or 3 months later, I saw it was on Hulu, and since that's only a 30-minute show, I think I binged the entire season again in one day.
Nice.
Yeah, so definitely that was. I'm really excited for season two because it was really funny.
Yeah. So one of mine that I'm going to talk about uh, did air in 2019. I didn't discover it till 2019, even though it's been on for a while, and that was The Orville.
Mm.
I Seth MacFarlane irritates me. Like it's one of those. I'll say it this way: he's one of the guys where I look at him like, objectively, I find you attractive. Subjectively, you're a dick. However, The Orville is so interesting for a show about aliens and like, it's Star Trek, but Star Trek if it was a little bit more woke,
Yeah.
and their adventures are different and they really take the concept of like what an alien looks like a little bit differently, and there's all these weird stuff with like gender politics, and I don't know, I like binged all the seasons in like a weekend, I think. I
Hmm.
started watching it, oh gosh, because I must have started watching it in like January. Because if I look at when the series came out, the third season, it went through April, but I watched it before we moved. So I don't know. But I just did. I binged all three seasons like in a week.
Hmm. Sounds like
I
somebody
really
else
enjoyed
agrees.
myself. Yeah. Yes, he wants me to let him out, but I'm like, you chose to be in here with me, Kat. This is your life choices. You have to live with them. Um, but I don't know. I just found myself surprised by how much I enjoyed it, both in terms of finding it humorous and having feelings or attachments to the characters and stuff.
Hmm.
Um, like it was just really smart in that way that I was surprised and had to give Seth MacFarlane a little bit of credit for not being a just total twat.
Yeah.
Also there's a character in there. I think he was on ER for a while, Scott Grimes.
Hmm.
He does voice stuff for MacFarlane a lot. I'm just like, oh, he's just adorable. Like that's how yeah, he was on ER, he was a doctor on ER. He's a ginger, which is my favorite kind of person. And I was just like, yes. Like I just love him. So
I kind of feel the same way you do about Seth MacFarlane. Like, just he's one of those people who, just looking at him, I'm kind of annoyed already, and I haven't even like heard him talk or how he is or anything. I'm just like, this guy kind of looks like a douchebag. But honestly, like he's a really smart writer. I haven't seen A Million Ways to Die in the West, but from what I understand,
it's pretty bizarre.
I was gonna say
It's entertaining.
it sounds like that's probably his biggest misstep that he's done. Um, but
I don't know, you
it,
just hate that he's smart. He's smart and he knows it. That's what you see when you look at him. He
yeah,
knows how smart he is.
yeah, he does seem a little pretentious, but but anytime like I hear him talk or anything, he does seem like a genuinely nice guy. He just seems like he doesn't say anything bad about anyone or anything else. If anything, he's a little self-deprecating, which is my kind of
Mm.
humor, and a lot of people hate it. But and
I think it was when he hosted the Golden Globes that I was like, no. Because he sang a song that was basically like, we don't really care what actresses do, we just want to see their boobs. And I was like, you're an
um,
asshole. Like, that was a joke that someone should have caught way beforehand when we're starting to challenge, like, the gender gap in Hollywood.
mm-hmm,
Someone should have caught how stupid of a song that was.
yeah,
Like, bruh, come on.
yeah, and I want to hope that it was just a joke. It's not his point of view.
He's never apologized for it.
Yeah,
He kind of
but
was like, Ox, sorry you feel that way, and just moved on, which I also get that response.
mm-hmm.
But I'm like, buddy,
Like you're
you
smarter
know,
than this.
yeah, like your sexual politics need to be more involved in this, and I believe that they are. And that's why I think like the Orville was really redeeming for me of like, okay, he's not as much of a douche nozzle as I thought he was.
I've only seen a couple, maybe an episode that somebody had on at work in the break room or something, but it's not what I was expecting. I honestly was just expecting a Seth MacFarlane sitcom set in space, which yes, it is. But after watching just that one episode, I was like, "Oh, this is a little bit deeper than I was
Yes.
expecting it to be." Um,
Yeah, I think what happened is I finished something else, and you know how Hulu will just pick a random thing and start playing it for you?
mhm.
It did that with the Orville, and I was like hooked.
Oh wow,
So
I might
thanks,
have,
Hulu.
I might have to give it a go then. Um, I guess we'll move on to another funny show and probably all around best show of the year, and that was season 2 of Barry. Um, I mean, it's Bill Hader already. There goes shooting to the top of the list, but he wrote. I think he wrote the entire season. I know he directed a few episodes. He directed what is hands down probably the best episode of TV in the last, oh my god, at least 5 years. To not go into anything spoiler about that episode, it just he wanted to do that episode a different way, and it had to deal with like a physical fight in the beginning of the episode. And he said, "How can we do this different?" And somebody told him, like, "Well, don't do it all showy in Hollywood. Like he said, film it like how you would film two people actually fighting, and how it's rough and very uncoordinated and not clean." And that is the majority of the episode. It's a 30-minute show, and I'd say a good 18 minutes of that is just them fighting.
That's terrifying.
Yeah, and it's funny, but also at the same time it's very brutal, which is the entire show. You can be laughing 1 minute and then gasping the next because of bad shit that happens. And both seasons have ended on terrible freaking cliffhangers, which is good. But yeah, I'm really excited to see what he does in season 3, and I really want other people to watch season 2 so I can talk about that one episode. I can't. It's somewhere in the middle of the season. I think there's only 8 episodes. So I think it's like episode 5 or 6. But yeah.
Okay. My next one that I really enjoyed was Stranger Things season 3.
Oh, I did not put Stranger Things on here. I cannot believe that.
Yeah, I know a lot of people didn't like it because it feels like, and the end of season 3 feels like an ending, even though I think we know they're all contracted through season 5.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but there was just like the coming of age moments in this season, I think were especially good, and it felt really relatable to remember being like 13 and your first girlfriend or boyfriend and like that kind of feeling. Like I just feel like they do so good at capturing the nostalgia while also still telling you a story.
Mm-hmm.
Um like I think it was just I really enjoyed the season. It had a good balance of silliness and scariness and story, and yeah, I had a really good time with season 3.
You know what? I need the last show I wrote on my list. I think I need to bump that off as an honorable mention, which I'll get to at the end, and throw Stranger Things season 3 on there because it might be my favorite season of the
I think
series.
it's my favorite season of the series too.
Um, I
I
did.
think it got the dynamics between the kids more figured out because the addition of Max in season 2 really did throw things off,
Mm-hmm.
which it would in the real situation. Like that's what would happen is like, oh, another girl in this group of all boys and one girl.
Yeah.
And then it like letting Max and Elle be friends, I think was really important.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like not just for Elle as like being normal, but like I don't know, I feel like it was a positive representation of girls not competing with each other.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I
Yeah.
think it helped that Max and Lucas were a thing, but still, like I think that was really important.
And I definitely think that I agree with everyone else saying that the MVP of that season was Maya Hawke. I'm with that.
Was what?
Was Maya Hawke
Oh
played
yeah. Oh
Robin?
my God, yeah. Yeah.
The character and just her portrayal of it were yeah, she did a really good job. She popped up in uh Once Upon a Time in Hollywood for about 2 minutes. And even just that little scene, like she did really good. She only said like 15 words, but still, like she's definitely becoming a very just commanding. Like she can command the screen pretty well for the short amount of time she's on there. So
Considering her parentage, that makes a lot of sense.
yeah, no kidding. I was gonna say see the bathroom revelation scene in Stranger Things. So
Yeah. And high five to Steve. Every season, they just make him more lovable,
and it's funny
and
too.
not in a way that feels fake.
I'm really glad that they went a different route. They were wanting to make him more like Billy, I guess. Which is why in the first season he's kind of a jerk, but not terrible.
Yeah.
And then they got to season 2 and realized, oh god, like people love him. We can't do a 180 all of a sudden and make him this douchebag. So I think we have to have somebody else be the douchebag. And my god, did they succeed with Billy?
Yeah.
Not a fan of him as an actor. I mean, he does a good job on the show. Don't get me wrong, but just I don't know. I've heard stories about him, and I'm like, I can see that.
That's sad.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm throwing Stranger Things season 3 on there because it totally blanked from my mind. And I'll talk about the last one I put on there as an honorable mention later. But my next show is a very, very heavy-handed HBO show that really surprised me, and that was Euphoria.
Really? I didn't know that you were watching that.
Yes. Did you watch it?
I have not.
Okay, so I mean, for those of you who don't know what it's about, it's basically if HBO did a teen drama, which it's HBO. They're very unflinching. I was gonna say see episode, it's either episode 1 or 2. There's a locker room scene where I think you see a record like 60 penises on screen. They wanted to go above and beyond and do like 180 or something, but it's like we get the point, people. Like you don't need to do that.
No, if I need to be traumatized by penises, I'll just watch the director's cut of Euro Trip.
Oh God, yeah. And and props to the writers and directors because they were saying there's the stigma of, oh, you see male nudity and suddenly it's pornographic, and it's like, well, we're gonna overload you with it on in just one episode, which like it doesn't make that specific scene didn't make me feel uncomfortable or anything, but there are some scenes later that are borderline rapey, and that always makes me feel uncomfortable because it's
Yeah.
it's other than it just being an absolute terrible thing, it's also something that you shouldn't be watching, you know what I mean? And
Well, it's are we watching it for story versus for entertainment value versus is the sexual assault sexualized?
no, it
I
is.
mean, that's what you have to balance. Like
Yeah,
that's the difference between like a good sensitively made thing versus something that's like we needed a rape for entertainment value or we're gonna use a rape but we're gonna make it sexy. Like no, that's bullshit.
yeah.
Those are stupid.
No, the person that they show being the oh god, even hate saying the word, I guess, raper,
Yeah.
rapist. I think you kind of see him doing that first, and then later on they show who he is, and you're just like, oh shit, like things suddenly make a lot more sense now.
Yeah.
It's like I said, it's a very heavy-handed, very explicitly graphic show. I remember Dax Shepard talking about it on his podcast, and he was saying that he and Kristen had been wanting to watch it, but he watched it because she had been too busy, and he watched it and goes, I'm telling Kristen to not watch this show because this show is her nightmare having 2 daughters.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm actually really excited for season 2, even though, like I said, it's very heavy-handed. It was shot so beautifully. It's the aesthetic of it is very just gorgeous, and I
Yeah,
like,
that's what I hear about it a lot.
yeah, and I like that they take certain risks, like without giving anything away. One episode ends with it basically turning into a music video. Like
Nice.
it's winding down, and you're like, okay, the episode's over, and then it just kind of kicks into a music video, and you're like, okay, I guess I'm here for that now.
That sounds like a good kind of ending.
Yeah.
Well, my next favorite this year, not quite so heavy-handed, was the Netflix show Dead to Me with Christina
Oh
Applegate
man, see,
and
that was
Linda
another one I
Cardellini.
forgot all about.
Okay, so I was like, oh, this sounds kind of interesting. I was in the mood for something kind of sad, and so over the summer I had a lot of times where I was waking up at like 5 a.m. on the weekends, and I was like wide awake. So I got up and I was like, oh, I'm gonna start watching this, and I got immediately hooked. Like I got up on purpose at 5 a.m. the next 2 days to finish it. Um, it is so like it does have sort of this tragic start of like this woman's husband dies and then how she connects with people, but it's a dark comedy.
Oh yeah.
It's very dark, very comic. Like there's something in it that you're like, oh, this is going to be what the twist is. No.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, is that the twist you think is coming? Yes. But then the actual twist that matters to the show,
Mm,
not what I saw coming. Like I got to the end of the episode, I was like, oh my god, if they don't make a season two, I'm gonna start a Netflix letter writing campaign. I'm gonna be so like I'm gonna tweet them 10 times a day. Like this has to continue. And they just finished filming season two. Um,
yeah, I
I
think
mean,
they
just
announced like a couple
brilliant.
days later that they were doing it.
It was about 2 weeks. It was a
Yeah,
while.
yeah,
Like totally brilliant performances from both of the leads. They are just phenomenal.
yeah,
Um, they're just like slightly unhinged, one more so than the other. Like so good. I think Christina Applegate just like destroyed it. She got nominated for a Golden Globe and she completely deserves it. Like she was fantastic. I was entertained and shocked and there was some gasping and like it was very very good. It was a really fun experience to watch it and I really enjoyed the show.
yeah. And I think like I've come to realize I think like dark humor is probably my like favorite thing, just because I love that you can be laughing. Like I said, it's kind of like Barry. You can be laughing 1 minute and then just totally shocked and gasping the next minute because of horrible things that have happened. And
Yeah.
because I don't know, I feel like it's a perfect representation of life. Actually, you can be loving something and be just totally overjoyed, but then you can be totally overwhelmed with grief the next second. And as sad as that sounds, I don't know. It's I don't know. I just like the fact that, and plus, it's also nice to just inject comedy into bad things. It to me kind of elevates the story a little bit.
I'd agree with that for sure.
Um, was that your last one?
No, I have one more.
Okay, well then, okay. So this, I think,
This is
yeah,
your last one,
this
isn't it?
well, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, then we'll
Uh,
talk about our honorable mentions.
well, actually, I think this is my honorable mention because I threw in Stranger Things with you.
Okay.
So this was last on my list until you started talking about Stranger Things because I forgot all about it. So my honorable mention is Nosferatu. Um, Overall, I did really like it. There was a lot I disagreed with, not enough to make me dislike it. The biggest thing is the tone. They didn't. I don't think they made it dark or scary enough. It was kind of felt like it belonged on a not ABC Family, like ABC Family or like Freeform, those kind of things. It was just a little too. I get that they made Vic a teenager. I think they made her 18 the entire first season, which is fine. But I felt like they were probably gearing this towards younger audiences. I feel like AMC was like, oh, let's make our own version of like Riverdale and stuff like that, which is the vibe I got from it the entire time. Um, but towards the end,
I have to admit to you, I couldn't even make it through the first episode.
oh really? Well,
I didn't like how it felt.
there was
I was
a
not interested.
there was a scene. I think it's like the last like 10 minutes or so of the third episode that the look of it, the feel of it, the execution was like this is exactly how I wanted the entire season to be.
I feel like it's one of those shows where I'll get around to eventually,
Mm-hmm.
but I just don't feel like watching it.
There
I feel
was
bad about that. I want to support it.
yeah. And I mean, luckily they're already. I think they might be close to done filming season two. They got on that fast, which is a good thing, I guess. I don't know if that's good or bad. Maybe they're just like, oh, we said we'd give you a season two. Here, and finish it, and we'll be done with it after that. um, but yeah, there was an episode in the middle that was totally original. There wasn't um, wholly original to the show. I don't think any of the the character that it was mostly centered around isn't in the books. So the entire episode was mostly about her, and like I said, none of that is in the books. And I can see because they're wanting to expand the universe a bit. Probably my least favorite episode of the season, even though they are bringing in other elements that I do like. So, but like it's kind of like the episode in Stranger Things season two where it was all about 11 and the other people, which is probably my least favorite episode of that entire series. But
Yeah.
it was kind of like that. It was necessary, even if as a whole you're like, no, I don't like this.
Yeah.
But um, I am excited to see where they go because I remember getting to the last episode and was like, oh, they haven't done this scene yet, and I was like, are they not going to? And that's actually how it ended, was on that scene. I was like, okay, shit, like you guys grabbed me again, I'm here.
Yeah.
So we'll see how season 2 goes.
Yeah. Well, my last one is obviously Letterkenny.
Mm-hmm.
So while it's been on for a couple years, we just started watching it this year. I actually just the new season just came out, and I'm on the last episode already. Because there was two new seasons this year. We got two, like a half season at a time.
Okay.
Um, at first I was like, this is so dumb. Like I thought when you see Letterkenny on the surface, like okay, it's farmers in Canada. And it's supposed to be a comedy, so you kind of immediately assume that they're going to be really problematic, and they're not. Like it is a comedy show and it is pervy and horny and offensive, but it's never cruel.
Mm.
And I think that's really important. Like some of the dialogue they have, which is like really fast and quippy and back and forth and really full of a ton of puns, talking about gay people and about like women's rights and sex and the rights of native people and like all of these things that are definitely issues and stuff that they talk about in those communities, but handled with like dignity while still being totally hilarious.
Mm.
And it's got
Yeah.
like it was one of those things where it took me a while to get into the show. So like Joey was watching it, Joey's really into it, and then I kind of ended up being, stuck on the couch with the baby and got like really into an episode, and I was like, okay, I get it. Like he did not, he knew I would like it, but he didn't make me sit down and go like, this episode, this is the one that's going to get you. Like that's not how it happened. He just kept watching it, and I would kept hearing things and being entertained, and then now I'm hooked. He has to work. I am watching the season without him.
Uh-oh.
He knows I'm not in trouble.
Yeah.
But I'm so mad because there's like two things I'm like, oh my God, we got to talk about this.
Yeah.
But like I just feel like that's where comedy like this should be going, is like you do not have to punch down.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's really important, especially in like sort of sitcom-y situations, because they don't. And like they're a little bit fat phobic every now and then, but it just cracks me up. Like there's the opening of the seventh episode, I think it was. I immediately texted Joey at work and was like, when we get to this episode, like you and I are gonna have a talk, because they have a debate as part of the opening before they do like the credits. And I was like, oh my God, like it completely, like what I thought my answer was to that debate is completely changed by the end of that, like, 2-3 minutes. So I was like, hey, we're going to fight about this.
Yeah.
This is the thing that's going to happen. It also reminded me how much fun it is to watch hockey.
um
But like, it's so weird. And it does take a little bit to get into. Like, I think it's something so different that you have to kind of understand the rules of the world before you can really enjoy it. But there's some episodes where I just get to the end and I'm dying. Like it's so ridiculous.
I've only seen like clips that people share on Facebook and whatnot, and I really like those clips because I'm someone who definitely loves dialogue, and especially whiplash speed dialogue, which is pretty much every clip that's been shared about that show.
Yeah.
But from the outside looking in, I'm like, okay, even though I'm only seeing these 2-3 minute pieces of the show, where not that they're not talking about anything, it's just they're just kind of razzing each other or what is going on specifically in that moment. But I'm like, how is this translating into a entire 30-minute episode kind of thing? And like I said, I know I'm on the outside looking in at a 2-minute scene, but yeah, that was just my take on it. Even though the clips I've seen are just hilarious, and I love all the puns. My roommate has been trying to get me to watch it ever since he discovered it maybe a year ago, and maybe that's it. It's like, no, I don't want to watch it just because you want me to.
Oh yeah, we all have those things where we're like, no, that's not how this is gonna work.
Yeah.
And I will say, like, I don't think it's for everyone, but it's a lot smarter of a show than you think it is on the surface.
Mm-hmm.
Just like the things they talk about, or like, they've got the dumb hockey players who are genuinely dumb, and like this show has definitely evolved. Like I think the later seasons definitely have more depth to them than some of the early ones.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I don't know, like it's just funny and like weirdly respectful. of a show, and I just appreciate how they approach the things that they do.
So to me, it sounds like I've said that there's certain shows and writers where, like you said, they're talking about these heavy-handed subjects, and even though they may not be saying the best things about it, like you said, it's never cruel. I've always said there's people who can poke fun at making fun. Um, you're more so like you might be saying these maybe stereotypical things about a certain subject, but more so it's saying about the people who say those kind of things. You
See, it's
know.
not even that.
Mm-hmm.
It's not even that. Like they had this whole debate about how there's a part where one of the characters says, "That's pretty gay." But the other character's like, "Well, what do you mean by that?" And he goes, like there's a person putting a penis in a male, like a male person putting a male penis in a male butthole. Like that's what they made by pretty gay. And like, like they're very it's one of those things where they interrogate the things they think are like there's in the new season there's a whole thing about like men in buttholes and like it's really hilarious of like you should give it a try. You should explore yourself. You should know what you like. Like it's just oh my god. Like and actually part of it like literally was so ridiculous. I was just waiting for the reveal that my mouth was just hanging open.
I'm again, even though I haven't seen it, I'm kind of hoping that even if whatever the company is that airs it in Canada, even if they cancel it or let it go or whatever. I know Hulu has the exclusive rights in America.
Oh, Hulu will definitely keep
Yeah,
making it.
I'm hoping if
I
any.
think Hulu funded most of the last two seasons.
Oh, right on.
Like I
Um,
think it's more Hulu than Canada now.
I wonder if Canada's the same way because I know like the UK, like um, Channel Four and just all those big things like the BBC. Apparently, the reason why you're able to watch all their shows commercial free is because I guess it's all like it's all funded by like taxes. That's where
Yep.
that's where a chunk of their tax money goes is for television and entertainment, which is actually kind of cool. Like, I mean, I get they're a smaller country, so they can do that. You did that here. Each people would also be pissed, but also you would have.
But some of our most enduring and important television is publicly supported television.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Mr. Rogers, Sesame Street.
Mm-hmm. Which I did not know that Sesame Street is on HBO. That's really weird.
That is really weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kat, I get that you have an opinion. We're almost done.
Um.
This is a choice you made.
Oh, I think he's cussing at you.
Yeah, probably. He's staring at the doorknob right now, like, I'm gonna figure out how to open that thing. I'm like, great, you do that, you genius.
Um. All right. Well, I'm glad we actually didn't. I was almost considering doing a top 19 of everything, but dear God, it's already been 90 minutes. So,
Top 19 of everything. That's a terrible idea. Don't do top 20s next year.
oh, well, we'll see. Movies, it's easier because you can consume those a lot more, or a lot
Yeah.
faster, rather. That's why I feel like the top 19 of 2019 for movies would be pretty easy. Even though, sadly, like I said, I only came out with like out of every movie I watched this year, I only came out with like 23 like favorites. One where I was like, oh, that has to be on there, and I was like, that's it, only 23, but
I can only come up with four.
like
And I've
actual.
watched a lot of movies this year.
Hmm.
I
Uh.
also, for some reason, the last couple days went on a massive binge of like Christmas romance movies.
Mm-hmm.
I have no regrets.
Well, plus I was also going for what was actually released this year too,
Yeah,
movie wise.
that's true.
Uh.
But so did I.
Oh, really?
Yeah, those were only things that were released in 2019.
Man, I wanted to try to start doing a like maybe a top 10 of the decade for movies. So I went back and looked at 2010. Out of all the movies, I saw a list on Wikipedia of all the movies released in 2010. Out of that entire year, I put 3 movies from 2010 on my list. That was
Like,
it.
this is gonna be a long list.
Well, it's gonna be really hard to narrow down because I want to try to do a top 10 for the decade. Um, and yeah, like I was really surprised. I only put 3 from that entire year on there, which I'm sure 2 of them are going to be kicked out. It's harder than you think. I told Victoria, I was like, I might be wrong, but I honestly think maybe my favorite movie from this entire decade is probably The Social Network. A
Oh
lot
my
of
God,
people.
what's my favorite movie from this decade?
It's pretty hard, but I got to thinking about it. I was like, you know what? I watch it at least twice a year. I've probably watched it at least twice a year since it came out, and it's the dialogue in that movie is just amazing. I love the dialogue in that movie.
I honestly don't know the answer to that question.
It's hard. It's really hard. And there's so many movies that I'm like, oh, this could probably be on there. Like I think Drive might be in the top three somewhere, maybe.
I think my favorite is something really stupid. Like I'm like, this is the movie I watched the most that came out in the last 10 years. Actually, it's probably either Pitch Perfect or Now You See Me.
I've only seen Now You See Me maybe once,
Okay,
so
Now You See Me is solely responsible for like the really weird and intense attraction I have to Jesse Eisenberg.
I love Jesse Eisenberg.
Okay, like I have always appreciated him as an actor, but after that movie, I was like really deeply attracted to him. Like in, oh, is it in Justice League or is it in Batman versus Superman? When he does the thing with the Jolly Rancher. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Uh, I know I've seen both of
When
those, but
he's being Lex Luthor and
uh
he puts the Jolly Rancher in the guy's mouth.
I don't remember that at all.
Oh my God. Like I literally, my husband just looked at me. He goes, "You're gonna fantasize about that, aren't you?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, all the way." Like,
Um,
do you know when I say like you have like your celebrity five? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I think
Like
so.
from Friends, that if you like these are your celebrities that you can have a freebie with.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I don't have five. I only have four because I'm picky. And Jesse Eisenberg is on the list. Like in a
Uh,
heartbeat. Give me the curly hair. He has the best mouth ever. Like I'm in.
so do you like the Social Network then?
I've actually never seen
Oh
it.
my God. I mean, I don't know. He
I
might.
think Mark Zuckerberg is such a terrible person that I think it would almost ruin Jesse for me. And I don't know if I want to go down that road.
I was gonna say he'll make uh Mark Zuckerberg sexy for you, as hard
Ew,
as that is
no,
to do. Yeah, no. The
no.
he knocked it out of the park with his performance, and like I said, the that's a dialogue driven movie, and Jesus Christ, the dialogue is amazing. Like even just a little thing they're talking about Eduardo loaning Mark money, and they're like, okay, so he loaned you $18,000 plus another thousand, that's 19. Jesse Eisenberg just goes, wait, just checking your math there. Yes, that's what I got. That's what I got too. It's just like little things like that. I and just real quick on the whole him playing Lex Luthor as Lex Luthor, he was terrible.
Oh
But
my God, he was so terrible.
had that been like the Riddler or something, it would have been
I
amazing.
know.
That's who he should
Yes,
have
I'm with
been.
you.
He should have been Edward
Yes.
Nigma.
He's too big of a name to be anybody other than like the big villain, though.
And I was actually really excited when they announced him playing Lex Luthor. I was like, oh wow, well they're going in a very different direction, and I'm all for it. But then I watched it and I was like, I'm getting Riddler vibes this entire time, and that's who he should have been.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
what could have been?
Yeah. Also, my honorable mentions: Sex Education on Netflix because it is so just weird and hilarious. I really enjoyed that one. The new season of Veronica Mars, except for the last episode, not talking to you last episode, was also really good. And then in terms of new shows that started this year, I'm really enjoying Prodigal Son,
That
which is
sounds
the one with
familiar.
Michael Sheen, and he's like a serial killer, and his kid becomes a profiler.
Oh wow.
Okay, but the actor who plays his son
Hmm.
is just a bug-eyed little shit. And I want to stab him in the face. But I'm very much enjoying the way they're approaching the procedure and the profiling.
Mm.
Um, that I can tolerate him.
I know a lot of people
He
talk about that
bothers me.
show
He
Killing
annoys me,
Eve.
but I still want to watch it. Oh my God, Killing Eve. Have you ever watched it?
I haven't, but I've heard so many people talk about it, and I really want to get into it.
It's so good. Like Sandra Oh deserves all of the love, but I'm so glad that Jodie Comer won this last year because she is so good as Villanelle. And like, okay, so that actress, she's actually, oh, is this gonna spoil anything for Trust? Um, okay, so Rise of Skywalker, they show Rey's parents,
Hmm.
and the actress who plays her mom is Jodie Comer.
Oh wow, right on.
And I remember seeing that and being like, ah, like just so excited, like she's in a Star Wars. Like,
Oh, that's pretty
and
cool.
even though it was like such a tiny, tiny, tiny thing, I was like, ah, like I was really pumped about that because she's just, oh, I fucking love her.
Yeah, I've someone described it as like the best like serial killer procedural kind of show since Dexter, and I was like,
Yes,
Since
that is
which
actually
season
really,
of Dexter
especially
though?
tonally, that is a very good equivalent.
Yeah. Oh well, then I'm definitely all for it.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'm starting to fully lose my voice and get a headache because my sinuses are deciding to fill up again.
Oh god,
But I think that we have shared a lot of good media
I think so.
that people should listen to and watch and read and all that good stuff.
And there's gonna be more to my movie list hopefully coming soon, especially now that I've watched the two movies that I wanted to watch before making a definitive list, which was Rise of Skywalker, which, spoiler alert, is not on my top 19, and Uncut Gems, which I saw yesterday or day before yesterday, which I described as a 135-minute anxiety attack in a good way
Yes,
because it was really good,
right.
but Jesus Christ.
And so I think you and I, recording wise for me and you, I think we need to arrange a Rise of Skywalker
Yeah, well,
recording just to talk about it.
did you go and see it again the other day?
No, I did not.
Okay.
We're all too sick. We're too sick to
Oh,
leave the house.
yeah. I may. I don't know. I think I remember enough about it to not have to see it again because I don't
I've
think I
gone through
want to see it
quite an
again.
evolution of my feelings about it.
Hmm.
Twitter has helped considerably with sorting those things out, but I think we will have a lot to say.
Yeah,
So,
definitely. Because the more I think
uh,
on it, the more I add to it.
yeah. So
Uh,
things to watch out for. Brad's top movies and the two of us hating. Well, I don't hate it, but I don't love it. I don't, in totality, my feelings are very neutral.
mm-hmm. I
But individual pieces and parts, I'm like, yes, I liked this, I didn't like this.
was gonna say I think I might be neutral to negative. So
Yeah. I heard that there might be a director's cut that would change the ending significantly.
hmm.
But it's really, I know J.J. Abrams can be really problematic. I usually like him,
Hmm.
but he fucked up.
Yeah, like the best way I described it was, I love J.J. Abrams. I love almost everything he's done. He's a great storyteller, but Jesus Christ, if his writing was not extra
They should have
lazy.
kept. I don't know why they didn't keep Ryan Johnson. I just don't understand. Anyways, this is all bitching for another episode.
I know.
We'll get there.
All right, well, go take care of your sinuses. Let the cat out before he claws your face off.
Yeah, he's already scratching up the walls. I think he's gonna try and climb the door in a minute. Oh, nope, he's trying to burrow under the door and scratch up the carpet.
Oh God. Okay, go take care of him.
He's not damaging anything. He's fine.
Okay.
All right. Until next time.
All right. Until next time.
Until 2020. Woo!
Yeah. Let's do it.
Okay, bye.
Bye.